Welcome to Chicago's Bravest Stories. This episode brought to you by PSP Academy for your CPAT training. Follow us on social media, our Instagram and Facebook page at trainwithpsp.com.
This week on the podcast, we have our friend Jeff Rich. He's a firefighter paramedic from Truck 29. He's here to talk to us about a fire he had on the west side of Chicago a couple years ago. He sustained a small injury, but we're going to use this story today to help all the young firemen out there to learn about what to do and what not to do. We'd like to thank Rich, and hope you enjoy the podcast.
I just wanted to thank you, Jeff, for agreeing to do this. It means a lot to us.
Hey, not a problem.
And before we start anything, on a serious note, what do you think about Steve's mustache?
Oh, it's porn star-ish, for sure.
I'll tell you, my wife does not appreciate it at all. I get yelled at every day I come home. You didn't shave the stupid mustache yet? But yeah, I get yelled at every day I come home for it.
Your mustache.
Well, good. I'm glad somebody does.
Right.
So much for that policy. What was that? Literally 10 seconds into
the podcast, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I really love it."
Get you real comfortable.
Hey, that's okay.
So, Jeff, tell us what you do. Where are you? What do you do for a living? Let's start with that.
All right, so I am a firefighter paramedic with the city of Chicago. I've been with the department for 16 years. It'll be 16 years in May 16th.
Ooh, congratulations.
Yes, got a anniversary. 10 years of that has been on the fire side as a firefighter medic. So
you're a crossover.
I'm a crossover, yeah.
Where was your last AMBO assignment?
Last AMBO assignment was at Ambulance 55, the double nickel. Over on
That sounds scary.
Yeah.
It was scary. Just ask any of the nurses or the docs over at University of Chicago. If they knew the 55 was coming in, they were always looking for a train wreck.
And where's Ambulance 55 located?
47's house, Engine 47's house, which is 67th and Keene Drive.
Okay, so there's no lack of EMS over in that area.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
What did you do before you got in the fire service? What were you doing?
Worked for a private ambulance company out in Dalton, Illinois, Comed. And then
They still in business?
Comed is not, but they actually were bought out by Superior and then ended up opening up again. Now they're known as Bud's Ambulance Service.
Okay.
So I did the transition from Comed, went to work for Superior for a little bit, and then from there on I went back to Bud's when they reopened.
What about before getting into anything like that, before getting an EMS? Like
Anything before that, I was
bouncing around?
Bouncing around. In high school and a little bit of college, I was working at a Home Depot, it was actually called Courtesy Home Center, which is no longer in business. But before that, it's my family life. Before that, as a child, and I lived on the South Side, born and raised.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, hey, it's the best side.
I see that. I see that Sox head. And man.
Well, you know what? I did. I wisened up a little bit, and when I married my wife, we moved up north, so I did wisen up a little bit.
Well, we're glad to have you there.
Yeah, but I'm still a Sox fan, true and true. No doubt about that. And anyone that's playing the Cubs. But, I've got a long history with the fire department. I guess my dad was a fireman.
With the city?
With the city. He came on in 1973, back when they had paramedics and EMTs on the ambulance, firefighters on the ambulance. So they had 2 paramedics and a firefighter. So, it's been
Was it the vans?
They started with vans, and from then they went to the Chevy big box trucks before that. So,
So that's kind of what got you going down that road?
You know what? I think I always saw it. I mean, there was days, hearing stories from my dad about what he did, and just kind of going by the firehouse as a young kid, knowing, seeing the fun that the guys had there at the firehouse. Because I mean, let's be honest, the firehouse is probably one of the best places to be.
It's a clubhouse, man.
Yeah, it's like unsupervised kindergarten.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So, but and then just seeing them work their butt off to take care of people was really an honorable profession.
Was that kind of your thing, watching your pop growing up, like seeing him coming through the fire service and like being like, what, that's going to be my thing. Like, I want to do that. Or were you kind of on the fence on what you wanted to do?
I was definitely on the fence initially. It was kind of funny. I wanted to be a lawyer initially, and then I was like a physical therapist, and I'm like, oh, let's go to college. And I did the college
that worked out for everyone.
Did the college thing, and I started, and I'm like, this just does not work for me. And so I decided to go to EMT school at Christ Hospital, did that. And then I waited it out almost 3.5 years before I got on medic school at Malcolm X College.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So were you testing to get? You wanted to be a fireman, but you went to paramedic school. Like, what prompted you to go down? Were you just like, this is what I'm going to do until I get on, or were you like, I want to be a paramedic?
No, I wanted to be a fireman. I mean, when I decided to do EMT school, it was more along the lines of getting myself prepared to be a firefighter. I took the Chicago Fire Department test in '95, and didn't do well enough.
That's when they had to like qualified and well qualified.
Yeah. So I was just qualified, which really pissed off my old man. It was pretty funny. It's like, what? What'd you do? And I'm like, I don't know. I studied. I took the test. Hey.
So not only did you have to tell your dad that you did poorly on the test, but then you had to tell him you were going to be a medic on top of it. You were killing your dad.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, he was one of those secret guys. I'm not secret, but he was definitely one of the guys that it didn't matter if you were a firefighter or a medic or where you stood on the job. As long as you did your job in the best of your ability, he didn't give a hell. Which was, that's something that I still take care of to this day. That's something to live by, I think. But so yeah, I wanted to be an EMT because I knew it was going to be helping me out as a firefighter. I did look into potentially going to the burbs, but realizing that those tests were so hard, not the tests themselves, but trying to get into a position because they only needed 5 guys between 6 or 7 departments.
Right. And you go to like a consortium and test with 1 million guys for 3 spots.
Right. Right.
So.
And I ultimately always wanted to be on CFD. I mean, so.
And you're competing with all those guys with those college degrees, so it makes it a little more difficult. If you don't have or that college degree, now everybody that used to be a teacher or whatever, they're up in that test doing a lot better than you.
Yeah, a whole lot of guys by my department that I was going to get my my business degree, and things got pretty weird after the crash. So
that crash changed the fire service crazy.
Yeah, I agree with you.
A ton of teachers, a ton of lawyers. I mean, guy at my firehouse was a lawyer. Shit went south with him, and he was like, I'm going to test for the fire department.
And guys were showing up to tests, and they would tell you straight up, we're laying people off. We just have to, by law, create a new test, and you would see half the group stand up and leave.
So where are we with Jeff now? Jeff's gone through paramedic school.
Yeah, gone through paramedic school.
He did his ride time. He's with Malcolm.
That whole rut of suburban testing that Jeff got stuck in.
Yeah, right. It just sucked us in.
It was funny. I literally went to, I forgot, I think it was Morton Grove, and I'm at the facility, and they're like, yeah, we only need 14 people, and there's like, I saw the numbers, and I literally walked right out. I was like, yeah, I'm done. And it was like kind of disheartening because I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to be on the privates until I get on CFD, because to me it was like that was my end game. I knew I wanted to be on Chicago Fire Department.
That's a tough gig, those privates, isn't it?
It is.
I didn't really spend much time there because I got hired on the contract, which the pay is comparable. You know, they're taking half whatever you would be making, you know, if you weren't on that contract. So, but it's just the atmosphere is different. The work is, you know, better, you know, because you're in a firehouse in a department with other people. That the privates, man, it's just that's a tough job, and you know, God bless those guys. And you know, it amazes me when I see the medics who months beforehand were doing the exact same job shit on a guy at a private at a hospital or whatever. It's like, you know, why?
Yeah, it doesn't
You
make
know?
any sense. I agree with you.
Yeah,
We're all the same.
I agree.
and that guy and that guy's gonna be on a department relatively soon.
Right.
You know,
No doubt.
nobody really gets on the private say, this is my career.
Oh God, I've landed, man. I'm good. Yeah. And you know what? And again, like you guys said, we're such a small population, you know, and then for guys to get uppity and be like, wow, you know, this is now I'm a fireman now, and you know, F these guys. And
Right.
like, it's just we're such a small population. Like to just divide us even further is just kind of ridiculous, like you guys are saying.
Right. Well, and for me, when I was working on the privates, because like I said, I was working out in Dalton, that company actually
Beautiful this time of year too.
Oh, absolutely. They had, or I don't even know if they still do have as many as they did at the time when I was there. They had 13 or 14 different towns that they had contracts with.
911.
911.
Yeah.
Harvey and Robbins.
Yeah. And, you know, Dalton, Riverdale, you know, Glenwood, Linwood. I mean, and it was great. I mean, for someone, you're saying to yourself, all right, this is, I can do this. You know, I like the job. I love doing what I'm doing. Because, I mean, at the end, all you got to be happy about it a little bit. But then you're just like, God, can the city please call her? You know, because you're just wondering about, you know, from day to day what you're going to do. I mean, I ended up buying a house in the city, and then trying to figure out how to pay for it was another instrument of that, because we bought literally.
Did you get married while you were working on the privates?
No, I got married. I would not get married. I told my wife, and she was a little. It's funny his story is that I told her, I said, I can't marry you until I actually have some serious, like a serious job that's gonna provide for us, you know, because that was just my.
Did she give you the, but you love me though, don't you, Rich?
Well, yeah, of course
Love
she did,
will get
Vince.
us by.
Yeah, you know. Well, but you know, and at the time, you know, she worked at the hospital, and so she's like, well, you know, we still make decent money between the two of us, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, it's not stable enough. For me, it wasn't. You know, that was just my end all be all. So, but then got married when I was on the fire department.
Yeah. And just so you know, Mrs. Rich, the amount of respect that he's giving you on the line right now, rather than what he was saying earlier at the bar, phenomenal. I mean, you're just a true class A.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it.
Did you hear that? That was the bus going over General.
It might have been the UPS truck.
I mean, if you even just want to talk about this, I mean, just
These things are on now, right?
check.
Yeah, no doubt.
So you get on with the city now, right?
Right. Well, so it was 2003.
Well, before we get to the city, any memorable moments on the privates?
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
Like what comes what's a good one that comes to mind when
Well,
you think about your days in the privates?
So I think about a lot of times I think about my first partner, who's now on the fire department as a medic. I don't know.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, Chris Powers. Him and
Good guy.
Oh God, great guy, great person to learn from. So I always look back at him, and he gave me a lot of opportunities to grow as a medic when I first got on. And so I mean, there were some calls where I remember we had one time we had this gentleman that was stroking out, and right in front of us, and he's like, "All right, we got to get his airway. What are you gonna do?" And I'm like,
He's throwing it on you. Huh?
Yeah, he's like, "What are you gonna do?" And I'm like,
And you're brand new.
I'm gonna put a nasal airway in him. He's like, "Yeah, no, that's not gonna work. We need to tube him." I'm like, "Tube him? He's still got a gag." He's like, "No, we're gonna do this. Come on." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, and he talked me through the whole thing of how to intubate somebody while they're still breathing, and I was just like, it was one of the coolest things to take back out of my mind.
After the podcast, can you show us how to do that?
Sure.
Well, I mean, that's becoming kind of a lost thing with people coming on, being new, kind of being like mentored down that road to give them that experience. Like you've never forgot that.
No.
That was, how many years ago, and it's still like, I asked you what the first thing that comes, and you're rattling that off like it was yesterday.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of a shame, like these new guys coming out of the academy and stuff like that. I wish that we had some kind of formula so that everybody can get that kind of mentorship, as they're coming out, because, that's what everybody needs.
Oh, totally. I think that personality though has kind of somewhat been lost in transition.
What do you attribute that to?
I think it's maybe the fact that they just don't really care anymore. They're just looking to finish what they can that day that they're there. I mean, with EMS now, with any department, it's so transient, and I think that's a big issue with it. But there's still, there's still a lot of people. I mean, there's, looking back at when I was in medic school with the instructors, whether it was Maggie Murphy or the Mark Hope. I mean, there were so many people. I mean, our head instructors were phenomenal.
Did you have Steve Zambello?
I did not. I had Jim McKillop and Jane.
These are all Malcolm instructors?
They were
at the
Malcolm
time?
instructors, yeah. They were
all city guys and girls.
City guys and girls. Jane was a nurse, I believe at the time was at Res or at maybe Masonic. I don't remember correctly. But yeah, and those are friends that I still have,
Yep.
on Facebook or whatever. There's always a chance that I'll mess with them on Facebook, and that's something I'll never lose.
Well, people are still learning from Chris to this day because does the training.
Yeah.
So he's still doing he's still in that line of work.
No, absolutely. And I think that when I heard that he was getting that spot, I was like,
that's
perfect
your
person.
guy. That's the guy.
Perfect person to have in that.
So you get hired on as a medic. You got that call, and so because the academy has changed so much, what was your routine at the I believe back then you guys had a mile run. You had some standards that you had to fulfill before you could graduate. Yeah.
God, that's 16 years ago. You want me to remember? I can't remember.
You can remember Chris yelling at you for a guy having a stroke, but you can't remember a mile and a half run.
Vince wants to know about all the physical fitness.
Of course he does. Look at this guy. He's a great specimen of character.
I'm scared to eat around him. Like he's judging me or something the whole
These
time.
guys forced me to have pizza yesterday.
He's just upset because he's had the shits for the last 24 years.
2003, we had Daryl Johnson as our instructor, and he was definitely no joke. I don't remember actually having to we had to pass the physical abilities to get onto the actual into the academy, but as far as they just beat us up,
right, they had the little test, what was the hand bike or going up the stairs?
Right, yeah, the going up the stairs with a monitor and your the monitor and the QRB, and then you had to go up and over so many times. You didn't know how many times was the right amount because they didn't give you that. They just said you have to do this job.
Right.
And then the other one was the arm,
the hand bike,
and then it was a
deadlift. They didn't tell you how many revolutions you had to make.
No.
And
do it for 2 minutes.
Right. And the deadlift was just a bar connected to some computer that generated a number when you pulled on it.
Right.
It was really awkward. It was
it's like a carnival game.
It really was.
Yeah, it was.
That's what it felt like because you pull it, you look over, what was my number? Is that good, bad? You didn't know.
No. And no one would tell you.
And they're just
go to the
down.
next one. And you're like,
right.
As you're going down it, you're just like, I totally think I failed because you get all the numbers from everyone else. I did it, and I did 200 revolutions on the hand bike, or I did 45 up and overs on the steps, and you're like, okay, well I did 20. Is that right?
Am I good? Am I good? I don't
Right.
know.
You know,
Yeah.
and those are definitely those vague numbers, but it's just that's what it felt like. You're like, God, I'm totally gonna walk out of this not even knowing what happened.
So there's always, in every academy, there's always some goofy thing that you do at the end when, you've run out of the official stuff to do that they kind of throw at you. Like, lay it on us. What was
God,
lining up boxes or counting ceiling tiles or
no,
something
you know
goofy
what?
like
See,
that?
I was kind of before that stage because I remember I think that was going on once I got out. I remember hearing a lot of the stories because
You're the chosen one. What'd you say?
Yeah, maybe I might have been lucky. I don't remember that. I mean, I remember more of that when I crossed over as a firefighter
Okay.
because they went more to the even more of a military style. I think after I got out of there, thankfully enough, because I don't know. But I do remember it a couple times having to be, especially I think the first couple of days where you're like, all right, at attention, and we're all like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And we had one of our classmates pass out because he locked his knees.
Sure.
And it was just like, oh God. Okay.
But they don't tell you not to lock your knees until after.
Until after you do it, right?
Right, till when
They
you
wanna
wake
see-
up.
Right, I want to see someone that's going to happen, and he did it. So that was 2003 till 2009, March of 2000, or not March of 2009, March of 2009. I was on the AMBO.
And then you got the call to cross.
I did.
So you were part of the 10% of the people that are going to the fire academy,
Right.
that are from the working.
Ambulances in the city, right?
So you go down as that 10%, and you don't go down until those guys finish their EMT. And so you meet them at the Quinn.
Right. So they started in December of 08, December 1st, so which is a cool class to be in because December 1st, 2008 was the 50-year anniversary of the Chicago fire of Our Lady of Angels. So that was kind of a cool class to be in. So there was we did a lot of the guys, the civilians that had.
Is that the date that the fire actually happened? Was December 1st?
Yeah, December 1st.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the big things on our hit list is to track down somebody who has some like firsthand or secondhand history with that fire. So if anybody's listening, please reach out to us because we really want to put that one out.
Yeah.
Anybody from the fire museum, you might have some info out there for us.
So it was really cool because cool to be part of that group. Great guys, every one of them, guys and girls that were in that group.
Your classmates.
Our classmates, yeah. But just to be associated with that date, it always reigns in the back of my mind.
So tell us what they told you. Did you know? I mean, with your dad being on the job, you kind of knew about that historic fire.
Oh, absolutely.
But what other information did you get by being at that camp? I mean, that's got to be kind of like give you chills when they talk about that fire when you're at the Quinn, and you're a brand new fireman,
Oh, totally. I mean, I remember just thinking to myself, God, as a firefighter, every day you're going to work and something could always happen, whether you get hurt, or when your crewmen, when your guys on the shift gets hurt, or and that's reality that we all live with, unfortunately. But to take care of people that need us at that time, so it was definitely, we all thought about it and said to ourselves, hey, this is it
hit home for you.
Oh,
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially I got to imagine going into it. Like, I mean, how old were you, Jeff, going in there? If you don't mind me asking.
I was 35 when I crossed.
Were you
35.
getting a little anxious on your 35th birthday and you hadn't got called there? Or you were crunching the numbers, weren't you?
I was, yeah, because
you knew you were okay, or were you?
So it's kind of that's a crazy story to talk about because.
Well, for people who are listening who don't know, if you reached the age of 38, was it still 38?
It was 38 then, yeah, because that's from the new list.
If you get past the age of 38, you can't cross over. And when we talk about crossing over, that means going changing your position as a single role paramedic to a firefighter paramedic.
And the same goes for being hired on the fire list. It's a city ordinance, 38.
All right, so tell us about you crunching the numbers. You getting your 35th birthday. You got 3 years left.
Yeah, I mean, I said to myself, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I mean, I was at that point on the ambulance that I was ready to go. It was because from just being in the neighborhood, being a medic, and doing 25 plus runs a day, it definitely played on your head, for a lot of things. I contest a lot of my crazy, things that, I'm worried about what's going to happen with my kids or my wife or even with me based on what we've seen on the job, So, yeah, I was like, oh God, this is crazy. And it was funny because there was one guy in our class that was going to turn 38 in the academy. Had he not gotten December 2nd. No, he was a crossover, and his birthday was in April. So had he not gotten in our class,
there's a guy in there now who had his 38th birthday in the academy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I gotta imagine too, Jeff. Like especially you being, I guess I don't know, is legacy. Sorry, is legacy like a term that you guys use around here? Like being a son of another fireman, or maybe even a grandson. Like obviously you were going to be super excited about this thing, but were you at all anxious or worried about going into this academy or switching your role? Because 6 years on the ambo, I got to feel like you're feeling pretty comfortable at that time. You're like, all right, like I got my job down pretty well.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. I definitely, a lot of it was not knowing what to expect from the fireside, is always wanting to do it.
And you hadn't been a fireman anywhere else, right?
Never went anywhere else. And I always tell myself, man, I should have done that. I should have gotten my Firefighter 2 and done, like one of the
if you had to do it all over again.
Absolutely. I tell anyone, get your Firefighter 2, become a volunteer somewhere. Because you just get comfortable with it. You know more about what's going on, what you're expected to do. So going in as a crossover and not knowing what to expect, I basically was like I was like any of the other guys, the civilians that were now firemen, because we were all like, okay, what do we do now, type of thing.
Did you think so? Would you say significantly harder when you cross the street to the Quinn as opposed to when you came on as a civilian going to the paramedic?
It was definitely harder.
Can you compare, is like apples and oranges, or were you like, this is just more physically demanding, more challenging? Like what?
Yeah, it's apples and oranges. It's two different jobs. I've always looked at it that way. And definitely more physical. I was more prepared for the fire academy just because I was working my tail off because I wanted to make sure that I was going to kind of get through there. As I didn't want to have a problem. I wanted to do my best.
Giving yourself your best shot at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how excited was your dad when you were like, I'm finally crossing over. I did my time on the AMBO. Now I'm coming over to the fireside.
I'll never know. My dad passed away in 2005.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so he saw me graduate the paramedic academy, and I'm very humbled that he was there for that. But he died of cancer. So, which is one of those great things that we have to look forward to as in the fire service, right?
Yeah. My mom passed away, and 2 days later, I got the phone call from IED to come do the investigation in my apartment. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember those days because I remember, like, not to go back to that, but my dad telling me when it's like, make sure you got your bills all out ready for them when they come to your house. Make sure you've got your underwear all in order. It was like all that stupid
stuff.
Put
a pot of coffee on for them.
Yeah, it was just so funny. And I remember the young lady that came to my house, and she was so sweet. And she's like, "Oh wow, you got all this stuff prepared for me. I didn't even have to ask you." Like it was like, it was funny. I said, my old man was, he retired, and he was definitely bending my ear. And she started laughing. She's like, "Oh well, I'm thankful that you did that. You know,
He's like, that's hilarious. What's up with the underwear?
Well, you hear all these stories when you're getting processed, like they're going to ask you where the salt is, or
Right.
they're going to go in your nightstand and you got to list off everything that's in there. Or
And
the guy
some of
walked in.
it's just-
The guy walked into my house. He's like, "Okay, have a nice day." See, I'm like, "Whoa! I memorized everything in my entire house. You're going to sit down. You're going to ask me all these things,
Right,
you know?"
exactly.
And he's
Here's
like,
my spoon.
And I think a lot of that's just because it's, you know, as with us, we all like to jag each other, right?
Right,
And I
right.
think that's what it comes down to. Is they're just like, oh, we're gonna tell this guy, you know, he's got to make sure his underwear's in order. Even my dad did that to me. Like, really?
Straight face. I didn't even realize it was supposed to
well,
be.
my investigator goes, you know, it's when he's like, I already talked to your neighbors. He's like, your dog's here, your brand new child is here. You know, it's like this house I walk into, I don't have to worry about. It's the house that I walk into. You got 3 guys living in a 2-bedroom apartment. You know, and this, you know, then it raises a red flag of suspicion. Now he's going to investigate further. But he goes, I walk into this house. Yeah, you live here. You know, he's like,
Right.
you live here.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
all you had to do was just get your cash back from that baby.
I got right. I never returned that baby. He's 9 years old now.
Man.
So yeah, I know. So you know, going through the academy as a firefighter, definitely, you know, it was rough.
Where'd you graduate? Did you go to Navy Pier?
We did, but it was not at the ballroom. It was in because it was during the summers in June, and it happened to be, luckily enough, we had nice weather, so it was where they do the Chinese that little theater that's off of there, up on the top. So we had it there. It was cool. Yeah. You know, again, memorable moment. The party was the best, of course, because you know you're with your group.
The prom?
The prom, yeah.
Yeah.
We had a great time.
So for those of you, explain what that.
Well, towards the end of the class, you realize, you know, everyone's like, all right, we're gonna have a party. You know, this is it's a huge prom. You know, for
They call
lack
it
of a
prom
better-
because everybody gets dressed up.
right?
It's legitimately like high school prom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But like,
but much older, and you can
Yeah.
actually
And you can actually take this time.
and just less people are married than your high school prom. So,
right.
Not
but-
less pregnant, though.
right. Yeah. When you're in the academy, they like assign you a treasurer. They were like, all right, make somebody your treasurer. They like give you these like important roles in the academy. 'Cause
Absolutely.
by the end of the year, that's a lot of money that, you know, and then there's all kinds of other responsibilities that you think you're just, you know, it's not just going to the academy, learning, you know, you're doing your practicals and taking your, the guy who's the treasurer, I mean, you know, I didn't have to be that in my academy, but especially if you're, you know, it's a 3-month academy back then as opposed to 6 months, you know, on the fire side, that at 6 months of these guys putting in money, you know, pretty much every day.
Right. It's a
Nice
This
little
guy's got to
kitty.
be accountable for all
Very
this money. He's got to go start accounts. You know, he's got to legitimately open up a bank account and
but
do
in the
all this
same,
stuff.
it was great because we had anything we needed, we bought.
Yeah.
You know, like there was always snacks, there was always drinks. I mean, that was all on us. The city didn't provide, you know,
Yeah.
any of that. Which it made you accountable to realize that's what it's going to be like in the firehouse. You know,
Absolutely.
because the city doesn't provide you your meals. They provide you a kitchen and a couple of refrigerators, and that's about it. You know, and so you learn to respect and take on some responsibility. So.
What would you say was the most important lesson you learned in the academy that you carry around with you today?
Don't forget where you came from, and don't take anything lightly. You know.
That was what your instructors like really instilled in you during the academy.
I that, you know, what one thing is, I remember one of our instructors when we were talking about RIT, you know, and
Explain RIT for
so
people.
RIT is it's rapid intervention team, and it's firefighters that are on scene for a fire or any major incident that are there to go into work in harm's way when another fireman is
And you're solely there only to do that job.
Right,
You're
only
not to
there
do anything else.
to make sure that everyone's safe and that you're gonna go in there when someone's not safe and needs help.
That's your only responsibility.
Correct.
During the course of that fire.
Right.
Is in case somebody goes down in that fire, an
Right.
injured member or what have you. That's your sole responsibility of that fire.
Correct.
Okay, so what did
So we were talking about that and going over the equipment that you'd want to have with that, those type of incidents. And one of the instructors had brought up how he was on scene, or he had one of his classmates who ended up perishing in one of the fires. Was on the south side on Western Avenue across the street from Cork and Carey's. And just hey, you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to have to be feeling, that feeling of that, and not knowing that you got to take this job serious. Remember your skills. Don't give up on yourself, and those will keep you safe.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what you want to hear in the academy, right?
No, absolutely.
That it's.
And the funny thing was, he's like, he's like, no fireman really wants to be in that position, because why? We all
want to be in the fire.
We want to be in the fire.
I was told RIT is like kissing your sister.
That's frowned upon?
Yeah, that's what I was told.
But, realize that that's the most important. It's actually more important than anything else, because ultimately you want to be able to go, you want everyone else to go home.
You're taking care of your own guys.
Exactly.
Who was the commissioner when you came on?
As a medic, it was Joyce. And then when I crossed over, I want to say it was Hoff.
One of my only Hoff story is I got out of the academy and I did the Aon building. I did the 911 stair climb.
Sure.
And it was 88 story flights or something like that. And I get to the top of the stairs, and however long it took me, and at the top of the stairs was Chief Hoff in his bunker gear, sweating. He had just done what I did with bunker gear on.
Right.
And he puts out his hand and he goes, "You made it up this far. I'm going to pull you the last step."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, fuck, this is my boss.
Yeah.
I would have gone through a wall right then and there if he told me to.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, and does that not like describe him to a T?
Absolutely. Hands down.
I was like, I got the best boss in the world.
What's the comment? Is it fireman's fireman? He was definitely
beyond that,
Yeah.
that doesn't even do it justice.
No, you're right.
And just from that moment that I, and I can't imagine the guys who had long careers with him and stuff like that, and he's still out in Carroll Stream, somebody saying that, he was on the roof and,
Oh, gosh.
So, hey, Chief Hoff, if you're listening, we got this podcast.
Yeah, drop in anytime.
Right.
So you finished the academy. Where was your first assignment?
I had the prized possession of going to O'Hare Airport.
Oh, okay.
For those that don't know, that's it's great. There's a lot of training, but there's not a lot of fire service
Thank God.
fighting.
But when you do,
That's what I'm getting.
but when you do, it is
the real deal.
Yeah, and that was one thing that, I like now looking back at it, and you hear people that are in the city and that aren't going to the airport, and they're like, bring your robe and a pair of slippers, and it's like, I'm like, it's not like that. They train every day, which it's. You got to when you're out there, because you don't use it. They don't use that stuff.
Last year they just had a big fire.
Right.
That plane got on fire last year.
Yeah,
And when
exactly.
I was coming home from the store and that plane had caught on fire, and I legitimately thought somebody's garage on my block was on fire.
Oh, is that
That's
bad,
how
huh?
bad the smoke was. Came all the way from O'Hare Airport to the Oriole Park neighborhood and blanketed the whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
Just from one airplane.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was there for a year and a half. got my red stripe, just did what I had to do there. Met some great people, learned a lot.
Yeah.
Actually we had a couple fires. I mean, it was kind of, like a couple tire fires which you think, oh, tire fires, that's nothing. But on a plane that just landed and they've used the whole runway to try to stop, it's those things get ridiculously hot. And it was, I mean, like everywhere. So, but yeah, so
but then you put in after your year.
A year and a half.
Yeah. Year and a half?
Well, yeah, because I mean it's after my year, but it usually takes about what is it, like a year and a half between
before the order.
The orders come out.
Did you see the new order?
I did. Yeah.
Anything enticing you?
Not at all.
Whoa,
Not at all.
The new order came out?
Yeah, there's
I heard the high-rise order came out. I heard the transfer order came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of emails on that city email of yours, Steve, that you got to look at.
And my phone didn't ding. So.
your phone must be backed up because there's a lot of spots for across the board.
Across the board, yeah.
Steve gets his text messages directly from our manual. So,
yeah.
Unless
Who?
He's not our mayor anymore. Well, I guess he still is our mayor right now, right?
Hashtag not my mayor.
Right.
So where did you finally go out of O'Hare? Did you have a lot of options?
I didn't. So for, as a firefighter medic, Steve and, Vince, you guys know, is that there's always, there's ALS companies, which are where paramedics are, and then they've got BLS companies, which are just with EMTs. And so position-wise, as far as ALS companies, there was none that were like any desirable spots. But I ended up finding a firefighter spot at Truck 19, which Chicago in May, and what is that, Ogden, I believe it is, right off the crazy intersections. So I was there. I did a year and a half there because I was never there. Maybe I might have been there maybe 6 times out of the year.
Because you're a medic.
Because I was a medic,
yeah,
right? Yeah. I was always in the battalion, which was nice. I was always, I was either at Engine 4 or Engine 30. And then I would do my downtown rotation here and there. I felt like a reliever at that point. So I was like, all right, this gotta go. I got to find a spot that's...
Well, you kind of got to think, even with the medics too, that's the best way to come on is to go everywhere. Kind of get a feel of this, kind of find out what you like, what you don't like.
Right.
What houses are good, because a lot of times you come on, you don't have an idea of what's a good house, what makes a good house.
Right.
So I think, when I came on, that's what I did. You really were citywide. When I came on, it was whatever, I would, go way south some days, and then the next day I'm up in Rogers Park.
Right.
And it was good. I learned a lot, but then I was like, I live up north, I'm done south. I kind of I wanted to be on the west side.
Sure. Well, it's that drive home from the south side was never fun. I had to do that too. That was a...
You can get there. You can get to work. No problem.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
No problem.
No, totally. I agree. Yeah. So I, after looking at the next order, when I stayed at Truck 19 for, another year and a half, I looked and I'm like, all right, I'm finding an ALS spot that I can sit at and maybe learn some stuff or, try to get a nice spot. But then I'll have one fail-safe medic spot that I know I can get, right?
Your just in case spot.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you should have seen so many phone calls. I mean, you're making phone calls. All right. How many medics are there already? You got 2? Oh god,
doing some quick math.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm not going there. Even if I knew that it was going to be a decent spot, it's like, well, you're never going to be at this spot. Why would you want to go?
Well, some people don't realize that if you want to go somewhere, you got to make phone calls to say, hey, is it okay? You kind of got to get vouched for.
Right.
There was an order, there was a procedure you couldn't just put in.
Not anymore. It seemed like that's kind of gone away because of the way that we do our computer system now.
Yeah,
everything's ordered like that.
I still think a phone call is courtesy, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be.
That's what I did when I went to where I'm at now. I'm at a busy firehouse. I'm on a truck on the west side, and that was, I saw the spot. I'm like, all right, I knew that was one place. I was thinking about going back south to 47 at the time as well. And I'm like, I'm putting this spot first because it's north. It made more sense. I'll put in for 47 as well as my second spot. And then I had another, for sure spot as well that it was going to be busy because I figured I was at the point where I think I had 4.5 years crossed. And I'm like, I got to shit or get off the pot.
And they give you your paramedic time with you seniority wise.
Correct.
Right. So the guys your classmates, you got all those guys beat for the most part, except for maybe a couple other crossovers, right?
Sure. But like when you're looking for a medic spot, I mean, now you're dealing with your time as a medic
is with other medics.
With other medics, right? Yeah. So I ended up getting my spot at Truck 29, and not looking back, I enjoy it. The guys are great. I've got a great house.
You've been with the same officer?
I've had 2 officers there. Started out with who's now he's the chief, Roy Dean, great officer. Yeah. Was a worker. Loved, he expected you to work, and it was great because that's the way it should be.
So even on a busy truck company, you guys are ALS,
right?
What would you say is the percentage of EMS versus fire runs?
Oh God,
I think you guys are super EMS heavy.
Yeah, we're definitely EMS heavy. I would say in a day, or like average.
Average.
God, I mean we're
definitely not 50-50.
No, it's not 50-50. I would definitely say it's probably more like probably 70-30.
Yeah, that's what I would have guessed.
Yeah,
it's like 70-30. Because and even that 30%, by any other standards, that you're still going to a lot of fires.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it does. It's for us. It doesn't seem like it, but I know.
Well, because you gotta knock out a bunch of EMS runs before you get that next fire run.
Yeah, more especially now during the spring and summer versus fall and winter.
And like you're at the edge of the city there, and like. That's no man's land as far as EMS. Geez, how many shootings and overdoses do we go to?
Yeah,
it's like crazy over there, right?
Definitely crazy. And it's sad, because seeing it firsthand, you can't grasp why people want to do that.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
And there are so many good people that live in that neighborhood.
Oh, God,
and you run into old timers that have been there for the longest time, retired plumbers and everything. And
just holdouts in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and great people, and it's just...
It is a shock for me. It's a shock to my system when I run into those good people, because I don't normally run into those good people. So I pause and I'm like, what? It takes my brain a minute to realize that this person's not trying to hurt me. This person, there's this person that has respect for me,
right,
and is treating me, relatively well,
right, right.
And, I got to remember, I got to reciprocate that.
Right. And it's hard because you're right. Because when you have, you do 15 or 20 runs a day, and
put up a wall.
17, 18 of them are like totally where they're all off on you, saying, "Hey, do your job. Why aren't you running? Why aren't you doing this?"
Or they're on leaf.
Right.
That leaf is some scary shit.
Yeah, it's bad.
Like, they're not on this planet, and you can't reason with them.
Right.
You can't appeal to their sense of whatever. You can't.
Or they're like just they're no tone, they're monotone. They're just standing there.
Yeah, you can't. It
looking at you like
super highs and then super low,
right,
and then back all over again.
Yeah,
that's why I'll take the heroin overdose any day. I know what I'm getting into.
Sure.
I know what the outcome's going to be. I know you're this way until I do this, and then you're going to be this way. With Leaf, there's no telling. You're rolling the dice what's going to happen from minute by minute with that.
And you're trying to just basically make sure you're keeping them somewhat comfortable, and talking in a voice that's not going to agitate them anymore.
Right. On the way to the hospital, I feel like I'm one good pothole away from this going south.
Right.
You know,
And there's a lot of good potholes out there.
No doubt, right, Steve? But
all right. Well, that brings us to January 17th, 2017.
yeah,
Run us to the start of your day. Was that your regular shift?
it was my regular shift. I
Okay.
was not at my house. I was at Engine 117
Okay.
for the day.
All right.
So I was filling a void for a someone that was off.
Okay.
Had done that many times. Worked at that house off and on quite a
Great-
bit because
great
it is
house.
it's in our battalion. It was a day just like a normal day at the firehouse. I mean, I got a workout in. Had some good meals.
Okay. So
Typical.
you did just a routine day so far.
Yeah, totally routine.
Bunch of medical runs.
Where's 117 at?
Chicago and Cicero.
Okay.
So
Well, actually, Le Mans, but yeah.
yeah,
For
what did it come in as?
the fire that
Yeah.
we went to in the morning, it was like about like 11:30, quarter to 12.
So it was in the morning that this happened.
It was. So our duty shift was actually the 16th. So this was
Okay.
the morning.
Okay. All right.
Morning,
Okay. So
middle of the night.
overnighter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those
And
are
what was your position?
I was second up. So
Okay.
for anyone that doesn't
Yeah,
understand
explain the
that,
responsibilities a second up.
second up, you're helping flake out a lot of the hose.
You're trying to make the guy in the pipe look like a rock star.
Yeah, trying to, and you're trying to make sure you get it laid out perfectly for them.
You want it. You got a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work, and that was one of those fires where it was definitely going to be a lot of work. We were first engine.
You're going through the front door.
Yeah,
Okay.
96 was at the back.
Did it come in as a regular still alarm or?
You know, I want to say it did. It came in as a fire.
Okay.
You know, so don't think it came in as a working fire. I think it just came, as a fire.
Okay.
So, but I think on our way there, as we pulled out of the firehouse, they made it a working fire. So at that point, we're like, all right, it's going to be a rocking fire.
And for those that don't know that are listening, our dispatchers are allowed to upgrade to a working fire or to a still in box alarm, depending on what information they're receiving over the phone. A lot of places don't allow them to do that, and to us, it's a benefit almost because we're able to get the help coming a lot faster just from the information that the dispatchers are receiving.
Right.
What generally takes
justifies
it from,
that?
Well, what generally takes something from a fire to a working fire?
So if
Multiple calls.
Yeah.
Multiple calls, or
Okay.
a lot of times because when they get a certain address, and with the city the way it's set up with all these cameras now, they can actually start screening in to the location.
Wow.
Yeah, which is pretty
There's a lot of
cool.
cameras in
Yeah.
that neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And if they have if they have reported people trapped over the phone, they'll go
They'll
to a
up it.
still in box.
Right. And that also happened while we were en route. So we were like,
There you
okay,
go.
this
Oh,
is
God.
Yeah.
this is
So
gonna
it was
be-
being upgraded as you're going to it.
yeah.
You guys-
So you're
you
putting,
guys
you
knew.
know, you were already a little heightened, and then all of a sudden now you got even more like, okay, it got real.
Okay.
You know.
So you're second up. You pull up and can you see it rocking? Is it yeah?
The back of the house was.
And you're first engine.
Yeah, we were first engine.
Single family, 2.5 story frame. What was it?
It was a 2.5 story. I'm sorry. It was a. Was it a 2.5 or was it an ordinary? I'm trying to. I think it was 2.5. It was a 2.5 story because there was people living in the attic. So that's right. It was 2.5. So it was a frame.
That half is always occupied. Yeah. And the only way to get to it is back porches. It
Yeah.
seems like.
So that's what we were trying to do. So we stretch it out. We went off the officer's side, stretched it out, the hose, and of course it was like one of those, typical city on the west side houses where you've got like, it was tons of. There wasn't snow, but I remember there was like they had the chains around the grass. So we're like trying to flop the hose over it so it didn't get caught up. And it was just, I remember it was a pain in the ass. But you know, that's our job. You know, it's especially second up. You know, you're definitely gonna be humping it for a while.
You're taking a beating and you're pounding those staircases.
Absolutely. So, my officer and the pipe guy they start going into the building. They've already.
So can you tell where the fire is at?
You could tell it's in the back of the structure, but I mean, where exactly?
Okay.
No.
So you're going in the front door and you're going to go chase it from front to back.
Right, exactly. Okay. I think before we got in, 96 did a little bit. They hit it from the outside from what I've been told, but you know, everything was happening so fast.
Sure.
You know, it always does, especially on a fire scene. And we start getting into the building. It's clear initially, and then all of a sudden, pitch black. And you could see a little bit of little fire. So
when did it get black? Like going up the stairs, or when you got to the second floor? Like,
not even to the second floor. We were still on the first floor, walking that first set of like we were in the kitchen maybe, and it got completely pitch black. Did a little bit of knocking down because there was some fire in front of us, and we're just trying to find like you said, the back porches to see how we can get up there to put this fire out. Because I mean, that's what we do. We go into the structure and find the fire and put it out. And lo and behold, second up finds the door. Like, hey, there's a door here. And so at that point, we get in there.
What, if anything, do you have with you at this point?
Just my, so I've got my obviously my fire gears on, my SCBA. That's the breathing apparatus that helps us breathe while we're in these nasty areas. And that's about it. The hose, which is what I should be,
because you're second up, so you don't really have. You're not bringing a bunch of stuff in with you.
No, not at all. I mean, because especially, I mean, like, unless I was on the truck, then I might be bringing a pipe hole and an axe, maybe, you know. So, but yeah, that was not my position at all.
What made you realize that was where it was at?
There was some, you could tell it was warm, and that was where we had just knocked some of the fire down. And when we knocked it down, it obviously got darker. We couldn't see anything. So it was all by hand. We're feeling around, trying to figure out where this stairwell is, right? So I find the handle, I pop it, open it up. It was still dark as hell. So we're like, all right, let's go find it, you know? So my officer and the pipe guy start leading, going up that way. I'm moving hose from the kitchen. You know, so you're still humping as you're trying to get it.
Yeah, great job.
And you're on air at this point.
And of course,
totally. Yeah, we're all on air. Yeah,
okay. All the truck guys are standing on the line.
Yeah, right. I try not to be that truck guy, but it's hard. Sometimes you do. You just get focused. You know, but they get up. They're on the second floor landing. I'm down below, so feeding them line, trying to make sure there's no kinks or anything. And all of a sudden, as I'm feeding, I notice that it's not going anywhere. I'm stuck. So I'm like, all right, well, that's cool. I'm like, this is not good. Not cool at all.
You're stuck. You don't think that that the guy on the pipe has just stopped?
Initially, I thought that, but then you could I could tell.
It didn't feel right. Yeah.
It didn't feel right. It felt like it was like stuck against something.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, what's going on?
Like you hit a wall or
right, like it just wouldn't go anywhere.
Right.
You know, like there was no play. Because I mean, even if
you'd be pushing the guy on the pipe, if he came to a stop,
correct,
it would like start going past him and stuff like that.
Either that, or I mean, it would find the path of least resistance and just wrap around him somewhere. You know.
Okay.
So I yelled up. I'm like, hey, what's you know? I'm like, I don't remember how I said it. I may have been like, why are you stopped? Let's go, or something. You know, he was like, come on, let's go. You know, he couldn't tell. And they're like, we need more line. And I'm like, I'm pushing you line. They're like, well, we can't get anything. So I'm like, all right. So I started going up, and because you're trying
to find out what the obstruction is.
Obstruction is, yeah, absolutely. And I get up to the landing, and everything's fine. There's no kinks. It's not stuck on anything. Well, I go up a couple more steps, and now my foot falls through a hole in the stairs.
On the stairs.
On the stairs.
Okay. Going up to the second.
Going up to the second floor landing.
Okay.
So it gives you like that little pucker factor. You're like,
Sure.
okay, all right, let me.
You don't
go
know how
back.
long this ride's going to be.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I let the guy know behind me what's going on, because actually by that time I think the truck guys, I'm truck from Tower 14, a couple guys were coming up, and what the officer from 96 was trying to also figure out if they needed another line up there. So he came up, and I'm like, look, watch out, there's a hole here.
So you're only in, what, up to your knee? Up to
Yeah,
your
I was
hip?
up to my knee, or like almost the crotch, but I was able to get myself out. And I said, it's to the inside. Watch yourself. You're gonna have to step on the outside. Okay. So at that point, then I make 4 more steps, and I'm like, I hit like a wall. I'm like, what the hell? There shouldn't be a wall here. What's going on?
You take 4 steps up.
You get your
foot out.
the landing.
Right.
But there's no landing. It's like literally just it felt like a piece of metal just bent over on top of me, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So then I feel where the line is, and I'm like, okay. And I could tell that it's caught underneath whatever this piece of metal is. Now I start trying to go back and forth with it. Now, mind you, I'm on the stairs. I know if I step back,
You're in the hole.
I'm in the hole. The officer.
You feeling any heat at this point?
It was warm, but looking back at it, and I know they showed a lot of pictures to me when I was afterwards, and it was definitely, you're like, holy, okay, this was.
So you can't
rocking.
you can't get this line.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't
Unstuck.
get the line past there, and they're asking for more line because now they realize they've knocked a bunch of fire that was there on this landing in the back porch.
They're trying to make a next push.
Yeah, and so they're going to try to go. They found the stairwell to. I find this out later that they found the stairwell to the
half.
attic.
The half.
Yeah,
The half.
the attic.
The occupied half.
Right. So, but I, unbeknownst to me, I ended up getting that ajar and giving them a ton more line, which was great. But I
Because
still
you had
couldn't-
all that line that you had been shoving up there, so you had line to go.
And I'm sure I called down a couple times, hey, give me a little bit more line. I'm going to feed them more line. But at that point, I do remember whoever the pipe guy was, he's like, hey, watch this window. There's a window here. Be careful. And I'm like, all right. But I didn't catch where they were going. I thought they were going right into the second floor apartment.
Right.
But they didn't. They went up to the attic. So now I'm on the landing because I got the pipe free, or the line free, and the door. Now I realize it's a door. I get able to move that out of the way, and I get up onto this landing. I start walking, not crawling, to see what's going on up there and try to find a way to get into the second floor, thinking that's where they're at. So as I'm going, I end up hitting either the railing or the wall. I couldn't tell what it was. I mean, it was so black. I mean, it was like closing your eyes and just walking around. You could not tell where the hell you were at.
Yeah.
It's all
So at this
feeling.
point, you think they're on the second floor, but they'd gone up to the half.
Correct.
Okay. So did you make that turn into the second story?
No,
You're still on the stairs.
I'm on the landing, and
Okay.
I'm going towards the window
Okay.
because I figure if I can get some light,
Right.
maybe I'll be able to see where the hell I'm going. It was dumb, looking back at it now. And as I said, like I did that, I ended up either hitting the wall or the railing or something, and it took my mask off. So now here I am. I'm on the second floor, heavy smoke. I mean, it's heavy. And now I'm realizing.
Like completely off.
Yeah. Oh, well, it jarred it. So, but now
You're taking in a bunch of smoke.
I'm taking in smoke. I'm panicking. And I'm like, okay, let me fix this, So I get closer to the window, and I'm like, all right, this should be pretty relatively easy. Let's do this. Let's take care of this, right? But you're just like, holy cow, what's going on? Everything through my head is just fast and furious. So finally I'm like, all right, I can't get this on. And I take my mask completely off, thinking, well, I'm just gonna fix
reset
it, and I'm gonna go to the window and get some air, right? Well, I stand up, go to the window, and unfortunately, I leaned out a little too far, and knowing now what happened, the windowsill was really low or lower because there was so much debris and stuff from the fire because they knocked a bunch of the drywall or whatever was on the ceiling down. So now
You're standing on top
I'm standing on top of stuff, and I went right out the window.
So you fell from the second story, basically.
Yeah, I think they said it was 18 feet.
Yeah. What'd you land on?
An air conditioning unit and my SCBA pack.
So you landed back on your back.
Correct.
So you feel like the SCBA kind of saved you from eating that air conditioning unit?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's what caused me to fall backwards.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why I didn't fall head first.
Right.
I'm thankful.
Divine intervention, maybe.
Yeah. You conscious the whole time?
I was.
Who found you right away? Or did you call for anybody?
So I know that there was some
How'd
police,
you get help?
There were some police on scene that saw me go out the window, I guess, and there happened to be an ambulance back there. But it was still very unreal. I mean, I even tried, thinking to myself, why didn't I make a mayday? I mean, I guess there were so many things like, oh my God, again.
It's easier said than done. You just fell out a window,
But before that, I mean, looking back at it now, I mean, there's definitely things that I've taken back and realized, okay, never let off your hand off the line.
Yeah.
Because that's going to guide you where you need to go.
Because if you had that, you wouldn't have had a thought to go into the second.
No, I would have just followed it all the way.
You would have just followed them, right?
Yeah.
So what was your immediate thought like when you hit the ground or the air conditioning?
I was trying to get back up to go back to work.
Yeah.
And just kind of freaked out. I stood up, and as soon as I stood up, I fell back down because I was in a ton of pain.
Yeah. Like what? Where was the pain?
My side.
Yeah.
I had and then it was not comfortable.
Then what happened? Take us to what happened. You try standing up. You're in pain. Now what?
I lay back down, and
They swarm you?
yeah, everyone came up to me. It was one of the guys who was on a trade from my house, was on a different shift, but was there at the fire. So he was, I think, one of the first guys that came up to me besides the medics. And he was like, man, what's hurt? He just kind of tried to see what was going on. And I was like, oh my, I'm like, I'm just hurting everywhere. I don't know what's going on. And they're like, all right, well, we got, the ambulance is coming. Don't, just relax. Don't move anywhere. And I'm like, well, let me get up. They're like, no, don't get up. And I'm like, all right. And me being a medic, I'm like, all right, I just fell pretty far.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything's intact.
Those guys take good care of you.
Yeah, they did. They take great care of me. Other than I probably yelled at them a couple times to get me off the damn board.
Sure.
That backboard was not comfortable at all.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to the hospital and spent like a day and a half there.
So the fire's still going on.
Oh, yeah.
So they're down a second up guy. These guys are still trying to make the push. They don't even realize you're hurt at this point.
They didn't, no.
Okay. And it's your officer and the pipe man.
Yep.
So
and the hydrant guy, I think by that point, he was already getting up that way, but him and I didn't see each other.
Right. So nobody from your crew knows that you just
No.
fell out the window.
Correct.
The medics take you to the hospital. You went to a trauma center.
Yep.
And what was your diagnosis?
I ended up having 5 broken ribs.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You know what? Falling out 18 feet, I'll take 5 broken ribs.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
You're sitting here with us, man. You look good. You know,
Thanks.
you'd never know that, how was the outpouring of reaching out to help you, with anything that you needed?
Everyone was great. From the district chief, down to guys from the house, from the battalion, phone calls. It was definitely heartfelt. It really was. I mean, I had a lot of the guys come to the hospital, and it was hard to see them that way, because first of all, I was half naked underneath the sheet,
Sure.
Like, come on now, get out of here.
That's why they showed up.
That's probably why
Yeah.
I wanted to make some fun out of me, right? But
So
yeah, it was great.
2 days in the hospital?
Yeah, it was like a day and a half. They wanted to keep an eye on my lungs because they wanted to make sure I didn't have a lot of smoke, thankfully, in my larynx or down there, but they wanted to keep an eye on it.
Was that a concern? Were the medics concerned about that at first?
I don't think they were.
Yeah,
you
were talking.
Yeah, I was talking. I had a good airway. You
Yeah.
know, I definitely was coughing up some serious crap because it was hot.
Did you ever
That's
find
when
out?
I realized it was so hot. You
Right.
know, but when you're under the bunker gear, you're sweating your ass off
Yeah.
anyway. So you're like, okay.
We were just talking about that last night. How Steve was talking about an old guy that he worked with that wouldn't wear his hood because that's how he was able to find the fire. And then Corey tries it one time, and he was like, "This is hot as fuck."
Dude, fire hot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know what? It was funny that you said that because I remember being on ambulance 55, and there was an old smoke eater there on one of the shifts. Great guy, and he was one of those guys that was definitely part of the KMA. You know, he's like, whatever, whatever you're gonna do to me, you're gonna do to me. He's like, I got time on. I don't care. I'm gonna do it the way that I know that I'm gonna protect myself. And he swore by it too. He's like, I don't wear my hood.
We were talking too. The guy that's always like, "Oh, I peel my glove back a little bit to see if I could feel the heat." I'm like, who has time to do that at a fire? I'm like,
or even to think about
yeah.
doing that.
Right.
I'm sitting there huffing and puffing, trying to get more line to the guy, whatever. I'm like, I'm not thinking about doing those things.
Totally. So, but the outcome was definitely.
How long were you off work?
I think it was just over 60 days.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a trooper.
What was that obstruction? That metal thing? Did you ever find out?
Yeah, it was like a storm door. Maybe it might not a storm door. It was the actual solid core door. It was one of those security doors that was on the top of the stairs on that.
So that was the
apartment.
That was the front door for the half.
Correct.
Basically.
Well, no, it was the front door for the second floor.
Okay.
Or not front floor. It would have been the back door for the second floor.
Okay.
Two and a half story, seven unit apartment.
Yeah. And it literally was spliced in half. That's what I was told. I didn't see the picture of that.
Jeez.
Yeah. So that's how hot it was up there.
What were some of the pictures that they showed you afterwards that you were like, "Oh, okay, now I know what that is"? Or
so they showed me like a couple of the different like windows that were in the stairwell that as we led up to that. Okay. Showed me obviously how charred it was on that whole stairwell and the stairs itself. They also showed me a bunch of the pictures from the basement because I guess it started like underneath the stairs under and the back porch.
That's why you fell through.
That's why I fell through that stair.
Did somebody else get hurt that day with you?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
What's your biggest takeaway from that?
Remember what you train and do. Yeah. Take a deep breath.
You ever letting go with that hose line ever again?
No, absolutely not.
I mean, geez, I mean, and that too, something simple. That's got to be easier said than done. You're going to find yourself where you might have to let go for a second or two.
Well,
right?
he's fresh off of a situation where he did get a little bit off the hose and found the door going up the stairs. I mean, you're feeling
now you're feeling good,
right? I mean,
like
you go a little bit outside your area. I mean, that's where we operate,
right?
And then you go a little bit outside your area of operations, and then 10 minutes later you do it a little bit again, and you end up on top of an AC unit. On the first floor.
Which is no longer there. So I supposedly that was the one joke that a couple of the guys were like, man, that the AC conditioner it was gone. Like they boarded up the house and it was gone. Someone stole it. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, I want to get a picture of that just to see what it looked like.
They took it out.
Supposedly it was definitely indented. I mean, I'm not a small guy, so
I'm surprised that the guys from your house didn't take it and wound up in your yard. That's what I was expecting.
Yeah,
because
first day back from being off duty, you find it in your bed.
Yeah.
Or like a Christmas present at the Christmas party. Or something.
For sure.
Yeah, we figured you'd be more comfortable laying on this thing overnight tonight. So
got a pillow on it, put his sheets on there.
So,
because I mean, once you're better, you're gonna.
It was before I was better. Let me tell you, I was getting
what else?
Getting
What other kind of beatings did you take from that?
I was the greatest American hero. Looking back at it now, I mean, I'm glad that I can talk about it, and those things happen, and we make light of it. I think just because that's what we do, but we all taken back and say, "Oh my God, I'm glad that you're okay," because that could have ended 3 other different ways, even more.
And guys like you who have stories like that, you need to share them. I feel with people like me and Corey, we don't have a lot of time on the job. Right. We need to learn. We need to hear stories like this. Guys out there that are in the academy, just graduating the academy, anywhere in the country, like we got to hear stories like this from guys like you who've experienced it, so that we maybe one day don't make those mistakes. I feel it's very important.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely guys in the academy, definitely guys on the job that they'll tell you a lot of other stories about how they saved a whole block of people and how they, picked up so-and-so and put them on his shoulders and carried them out. But not a lot of people have been to be assholes out there, like admitting to making one mistake.
Right.
In a lot of these academies, you come out of there in the best shape of your life. You think you're invincible, You
basically did the heavy lifting on teaching some of these guys a lesson. Like you're the one who had to, you got 5 broken ribs to, to show for it that, you learned a few lessons that somebody may not have to break 5 ribs to learn.
Yeah. I always have a hard time talking about it. I mean, not talking about it, but there was afterwards, I definitely felt there was the oh shit, I would have lost my family. Yeah. So back now, it's definitely something now that I'm like, okay, I'm glad that I have that feeling. Not that I'd ever, I'd ever stop what I'm doing. I mean, that's what I like to do. I got a great bunch of guys I work with, so I wouldn't change that at all, but just, knowing that, hey, enjoy life every day you have it, because the next day is never guaranteed. The next minute's never guaranteed. So I definitely got that out of this situation, and it was a coming to Jesus too, like, holy cow, don't be that guy that says, it's all BS.
Were you, I can imagine that you were, you hear other guys getting hurt or, injured.
We've had a lot of them recently.
We've had a lot. And you never think it's going to be you, until you're the guy.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you on that. But, I think you always tell yourself, that our job's dangerous. It could happen. It's in the back of your mind, but it's never in the front of your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's in the front of your mind, it's going to get in the way of you doing your job.
Right.
So, we got.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
I know you personally. I know you outside of the job. Our kids go to school together.
Right.
We're going to see each other at a dance recital on Saturday. Yeah. Looking forward to it. When I didn't know how bad you were hurt. When I found out, they're like, you know how the word travels.
Right.
We both
Telephone,
work on
telegraph, telefireman, right?
Yeah, and we both work on the west side. And I heard, I'm like, are you fucking kidding? And when I was told, I didn't know the extent of what you hurt. And I remember I was telling these guys when we were talking about you yesterday, I sent you a text message saying, do you want me to pick up Maddie from school? Do you need anything like that? And then when you didn't text me back, I was like, oh my God, he must be fucked up. Like how? Then I was
I couldn't get to my phone.
Right. Well, that's what it was. Like he was in the hospital. He's just spending his one of his 2 days in the hospital, and I just thought you were you got a little banged up. I didn't know you were gonna spend 2 days in the hospital, but of course I start hearing, okay, yeah, he fell out the window. He's not texting me back. my mind is going
everywhere, right?
to the worst
Sure.
places.
Absolutely. It always does.
Yeah. And then you get like, I don't want to like intrude. I don't want to like
Right.
How far is how far?
What's enough or too much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm sending this out. I legitimately want to help if anything I can do. And I left it, but I didn't want to keep hammering it, like,
Right.
Are you okay?
Right.
But it's like that was that, and I think like there has to be other people like me who, like who are concerned, but they're on that edge of not wanting to overstep their bounds with, because especially when I didn't know how bad you were.
Right. Yeah, I mean there was some people that were, that they told me afterwards, oh man, I wanted to text you or I wanted to call you, but I just didn't know if it was okay. And I was like, oh dude, yeah, sure. Call me. Yeah. And then on the other flip side, I mean, I had, one of the guys that I work with who called me every day, and then, towards the middle of me being laid up, we went out for lunch. He's like, hey, and just in this kind of checking in with me, saying, hey, how you doing? What's going on? What's going on in your head? What's, how are you feeling? And that was great. And even like I talked to a couple other people on the private, just to kind of clear my head. I talked to my pastor at St. Ben's at the time, because I was very tight with him, and you just you need to have that, being able to sit down and lay it all out there. And those things anyone in the job has to do, whether from a fire incident that you get hurt at or a bad call you have, anything. You got to sometimes, and that's the great thing about being in the fire service with some, with houses that are busy, or not even busy, but just in general, guys are willing to talk to each other. I mean, there is a lot of hand and jagging, of course, but they're willing to talk.
But the same guy who's going to give you a trimming is going to sit down with you.
Absolutely.
And, put his arm on you. And,
absolutely.
And you guys were saying, like, that's a coping mechanism. Like, that's how we walk away from seeing some pretty rough stuff. And, like, we make a joke because it's, that's how we come back to reality.
Yeah. I mean, people on the outside, might look and be like, hey, these guys are callous, talking about, laughing at if they only knew, what's really going on, behind that laughter and, behind us joking around. If it wasn't for that, I mean, we've had a bad string of suicides on our job between CPD and CFD within the last, like, unprecedented.
Yeah.
Right? Unprecedented. And, I think we need to get a little bit better of recognizing when someone's hurting and, taking care of each other. Because, I mean, I've, for as long as I've been around, we've never had this, like, string of bad luck.
Right. Well, and it's funny because you never know what's really ailing someone. On the outside they look perfectly fine, but they've got some inner demons inside that you don't know about.
And that person may just need to talk to somebody.
Right.
That might all it could be.
Even if it's just a matter of saying, hey, your life's not as bad as you really think it is. Look at this guy, or look at me. It definitely, it helps. Yeah. So.
Well, I can't thank you enough for sitting down with us. I hope you had a good time.
I did.
I mean, I know, like you were saying, that part of it's kind of hard to talk about. So we appreciate it. I can't tell you, how thankful we are that you actually came in here and talked to us about it.
Thanks for putting yourself out.
I know I learned a bunch just meeting you, listening to your story today. As a young guy, it's important that I hear these things. Maybe one day I don't make that mistake, or I can pass the story along to somebody else.
Yeah, and I thank you for inviting me. This is it's definitely out of my wheelhouse. So, but I mean, I've listened to podcasts before, but this is
now you are a podcast.
Now I am
There
a
you go.
podcast.
Yeah. Did you
Lord.
tell your kids you were going to be on a podcast?
I did not.
No?
Told the wife. I didn't tell the guys at work, so I'm sure I'll end up. If
You
this
are
ends up
going
getting out, I'm just going to come out. I'm
We're
sure.
all gonna hear
You don't
about
have to
this.
tell them. I think they know.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, 2 seconds after us walking out the door, the radar, the bat signal is going to go up, and
Yeah, right.
I wish we could do a post show. Let's hear like what
right
are the
where we
best
follow him
ones
to the
that they were
firehouse,
fired
and
off. Hey, Joe Hollywood, how's it going?
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, this is my story's not unique by any stretch. I like to kind of put that out there. I mean, it happens. Thankful that
you had a good outcome.
I had a good outcome.
You had a good outcome, and I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad
Yeah, because I mean, it was a lot of. I mean, we had a guy in our house that fell down an elevator shaft, literally probably 9 months before, and that was crazy. I mean, he was fine. Luckily enough, he slid the hose down and was able to talk about it afterwards as well. So it's crazy, and then you got I've had friends that have passed.
Well, yeah, we're gonna try to get more of those here to talk about. So maybe people hearing your story get a little motivated to share a little bit. Yeah. Do you got anything you want to say to Steve's mustache before we go?
I wish I could grow something like that. Mine never looks that thick.
Well,
Yeah.
you do grow yours for hockey season though. I've seen that thing.
Yeah, I mean, I grow it from November. That's my the fire service. One of the Mike Manchester and Sergil, and not Sergil, but
Jenny Yokas.
yes, thank you. Jenny Yokas runs Stash Bash. I couldn't get her name out of my
Great
small
party.
brain.
It was a great party.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's for a great cause. I mean, so it's
Who was the winner this year?
what's his
year?
face from Ambulance 15. He dressed up as Freddie Mercury. I can't think of his name now. I want to say it's Alejandro or
Alex Casillas.
Yes, that's what it.
Who's
yeah.
now? I think he's finishing the fire academy.
I
right
think
now?
so. Yeah. So.
So his stash is probably going to be rocking for next year.
Oh man, it was great. I mean, he came in a jumpsuit.
Right. I saw those pictures.
Yeah, it was great. It was definitely a good time.
What other memorable stashes were there? Because I didn't go.
See, McLaughlin he was another one that did.
I
the
think
Freddie
Mike
Mercury.
McLaughlin looked more like Freddie Mercury than Freddie Mercury.
Well, he had
Right?
yes.
Are you guys with me on that?
I'm totally with you on that. It was funny. I'm trying to think what else. Any other good stashes at that bash? I mean, there was always a couple. Someone that's dyed it or
Oh yeah.
colored it because they can't tell it really anyway. So, but yeah. So.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. We'd also like to thank the Missing Chums for their musical contribution to the podcast with the song Yes You May.
Hey guys, if you're a first responder or you know a first responder that has a story to tell, we'd love to hear it. Please reach out to us at Chicago's Bravest Stories on Facebook or Instagram. You can download this episode on iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and TuneIn. Thanks for joining us.
All right, everybody. Now it's time to the podcast where we do our fire department, union, charity plugs. First one I want to talk about is the Gala for the Girls. Great paramedic on the Chicago Fire Department. She's awesome. Her name's Jenny Yokas. She's really involved in charity. They're having a party. It's going to be at 625 West Adams Street. This is their third annual gala for the girls. What they're trying to do is raise money for women first responders, cancer. It's going to be on Saturday, June 1st, 2019. That's an EMS 4 shift on the 3rd shift with the B daily. They're going from 7 p.m. to midnight. It's $125 for a one-person ticket, $200 for the pair. There's various people that you can find to buy the tickets from firehouses, or you can find them at www.eventbrite.com. That's a gala for the girls. Passing Hope Forward Project is who they're raising money for. So we'll see you out there. Have a good time. It's a great party. Jenny Jokic rocks. We'll see you there. On Sunday, May 26th, Blue Island Beer Company presents Truett. It's on the Memorial Day weekend. They're going to take you from the Mississippi Delta to the Princess of Minneapolis, Chicago Blues to Bowery Punk. It's a benefit for the Gold Badge Society. You got $25 admissions, includes your first drink. Blue Island Beer Company, they got great craft beer over there. They're located at 13357 Old Western Avenue in Blue Island, Illinois. Come out there, $25 at the door. Proceeds go to benefit the Chicago Gold Badge Society. We'll see you there.
Also sponsored by Chicagoland Event Medical Services, we are a first responder, owned and operated first aid and emergency medical service provider. Our mission is to protect the lives and well-being of event patrons all over the state of Illinois by providing professional and experienced career EMS practitioners in an event setting. Our services are completely customizable to the needs of our customers. Our business was born out of a necessity to provide competent health care providers to both large and small events. We do this by bringing firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, nurses, lifeguards, first aid tents. We also customize your own site safety and emergency response plan, and that information will always be available to your staff. We pride ourselves on providing the best patient care possible to your events.
Hey everybody, it's Steve here. I'd like to talk to you about another awesome company that helps bring the podcast to you free of charge. Chicagoland CPR. It's a first responder owned and operated CPR company. As a first responder myself, I can't express to you enough how important CPR training is for everybody in the community. They offer real customizable world-class education for all their clients. They have a combined 30 plus years of field experience as fire service and EMS educators throughout the Chicagoland area. Chicagoland CPR is extremely focused on providing real-world, no-fluff education, and the main focus is on organization, an engaged classroom, working with students to completely understand the material, getting your certificates out on time, and most importantly, coming to your facility. They offer a wide variety of American Heart Association classes, CPR, First Aid, AED, ACLS, PALS, and a full complement of StarGuard Elite, Lifeguard, and Aquatic Safety classes. Our clients include nursing homes, hospitals, long-term care facilities, fire departments, schools, park districts, coaching staff, and many other groups throughout the communities. If you're interested in hosting a class at your facility for your employees, or you have any questions about services and pricing, contact Chicagoland CPR. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, the World Wide Web. I can't express to you, again, how important CPR and first aid training is. They want to hear from you soon. Give them a call, find them. Let's set you up a class to help save some lives.